You know, for me, I feel like music is it's like a tree, and there are different branches, and it's like, you know, we dance around the tree, and it's like you don't really have to stay on one branch just because.
Yeah, right. There's no good reason really to.
Why can't I go to that one? If I
Right.
can't reach it, then I'll go. You know?
Right. I wanted to start off with Change of the Guard, with the question that I worry that you've been asked a million times before. Do you feel that you represent a change of the guard with regards to modern jazz?
Well, yeah. I mean, this song is really actually. You know, I wrote it actually for my dad and like his friends they were like there was a whole almost, you know, in Los Angeles in particular, there was a whole generation of musicians that were really talented that never got a chance to really express themselves to the world, you know. And so, I mean, I feel like I am expressing myself to, you know, people. So yeah, in that sense, that's what it's about. I mean, it's not about necessarily taking over for anyone else. It's just about having the opportunity to express yourself. That's
Opportunities that others didn't have.
yeah, yeah.
So your father was a musician?
Yeah. He's here actually.
Tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, what does he play?
Saxophone.
Is he gonna play with you?
Yeah.
Does he play on this recording?
No, he's not on this recording,
But it's an homage to him and,
Yeah.
and his fellow generation of musicians. This album, it's full of so much music and so many levels of music and ideas and spirituality. It makes me just curious. Where did your musical adventure start? What is your first sort of musical memory where you were touched by melody or by rhythm and that you remember distinctly?
That's hard because I'm a second generation musician, so I started really young. I was like, 3 years old or something like that. I don't really remember.
It was always there.
Yeah, it was always there. My first concert I ever went to was Pharoah Saunders at the World Stage in Leimert Park. I remember that. I remember that being like kind of a big deal. First time I heard Kenny Garrett live was a big deal for me too.
Did your father take you to shows?
He took me to the Pharoah Saunders show, and then after that, I was I was a pretty rambunctious little kid. You know, I was like 13 years old, sneaking into clubs, playing in clubs. You know, I was all over the place.
So you were already playing music.
Yeah.
And you had friends who shared the same appetite for the same kind of music at that point?
Yeah. All the guys were on my record. We were all grew up together, so we were.
That's
all
amazing.
Yeah. We were
so
all.
Thundercat.
Yeah. I met Thundercat and Ronald Bruner Jr. at my 3rd birthday party.
Wow.
Yeah, I used to be a drummer. So what happened is, I got a drum set for my 3rd birthday. And my dad and Ronald Bruner Sr., Thundercat and Ronald's dad, they had a band together. And so Ronald Bruner Sr. brought Ronald Bruner Jr. to the party. And apparently we had a drum battle that turned into a fist fight.
Wow. That was your introduction to...
Yeah, we were friends after that. You know, you're little kids, that's how it is, So he used to come over, we used to play drums, and then I switched to piano.
You've gone to music school and sort of the academic approach to jazz also, but what I feel is a wonderful thing about the Epic is that it encompasses so many different genres beyond jazz, and also it sort of it has a sort of disregard for a lot of the academic conventions that have sort of formed the way jazz is seen and taught. Like, where do you see yourself? Obviously you interact and collaborate with so many artists way beyond the strict jazz scope. Do you see yourself as a rebel in terms of the sort of the more formalized jazz, almost jazz as sort of an institutionalized museum thing?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, when we were younger, we were like almost omnipresent. We went to every concert. We were hanging out at all the clubs. Like we knew all the musicians. So school was always kind of like almost the afterthought. Like we went to school. I went to UCLA. And I went to UCLA to learn things that were kind of out of the box,
Right.
So like I was an ethnomusicology major, so I was learning like North Indian classical music and like Indonesian gamelan music, stuff that I couldn't go to the to a bar and hear. But yeah, I mean we were out, and we were hungry for the music, so I think that that combination of things. It leads you. That's how you end up doing a lot of stuff. Is if you're, we were, myself and all my friends, we were really like, we were just searching music out everywhere we can go. We didn't. Sometimes we didn't have any money. I'm an expert at sneaking into concerts. Just whenever he needs any help, I can. At one time it was funny. Ronald Bruner Jr., Thundercat's brother, and I, he called me and he said, "Hey, Kamasi, man, Dennis Chambers is playing. Can you come pick me up?" And I was like, "Man, I don't have any gas, though." He was like, "Oh, I got some money, don't worry." So I pick him up. When we get halfway there, I'm like, "Yeah, we should stop and get some gas." He was like, "I lied to you. I don't have any money." And so we ran out of gas about 2 blocks away from the concert. And we sneak in first. First, we sneak into the show. And then I was like, "Hey, Ronald, you're going to have to ask Dennis Chambers for $20. Now, Dennis Chambers didn't know us. So we snuck into his concert and got gas money from him. And that's the kind of stuff that like leads you to, I don't know, not taking school is, But
Right.
school is important though. It's because you have to expand your mind. You can't just live in the barriers of what you have in your own
So
backyard.
you didn't feel that it was limiting to go to school and learn?
No, it was a
learn
reverse.
music?
It was a reverse
Right.
because it wasn't my only thing.
Right.
I think sometimes school feels limiting if it's the only thing you're doing. Like, so if you're in school and the only thing you do is go to your classes, and then it feels limiting. But like for me, I was playing so much music outside of school that when I went to school, it was like, okay, this is like expanding me. I'm like learning things that I wouldn't necessarily learn, in the streets.
People talk to you about this being, you cover both the very melodic part of music and also the more avant-garde and the bebop. You sort of do it all. Is it weird to you that people keep asking you why you have an appetite for such a wide array of things? Like, is it all the same to you, melody and or lack thereof and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, music, is super connected. I mean, we use words to categorize it, but the words kind of exist outside the music. Inside the music, it's all related. It's all connected. It's all one thing. If you really look at the music you love, like you listen to the records and you look at who's playing on them, it's like the same people, or like those, like it's like jazz musicians are playing all the funk, and like gospel musicians are playing all the R&B, and classical musicians are playing rock and roll, and it's just they're all connected, and it's so for me, I just like playing music, so I don't really get too hung up on trying to fit a description. Because the description is actually of the music. The music isn't a reenactment of the description, In Los Angeles in particular, we do have a very kind of like, we have like a, like a melting pot philosophy where, all the musicians play everything and they play with everyone. Like, so like you might go to a jazz jam session and it'd be all gospel musicians there. Or like you go to a church and like it's a bunch of like hip hop producers playing there, or like, you know, so we you know, like when I played with Snoop Dogg, his whole band was a jazz band. Like everybody played jazz. Like every sound check was like Giant Steps and, you know, Freedom Jazz Dance.
When did you play with Snoop? Like what era?
That was
of
like
Snoop?
2001 to like 2005, 2006.
Wow.
So good little time.
So that's
yeah,
like
I mean,
drop
his
it
band was
around, drop it like it's hot.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was
a little
live. It
before
was
that
all
was,
jazz musicians.
Yeah, Beautiful was the single back then. But yeah, his band was like myself, Thundercat, Sput, Robert Seawright from Snarky Puppy, Terrace Martin, Isaac Smith, RC, all jazz musicians. It was like that's what. But we also played hip hop. So, you know, for me, I feel like music is it's like a tree, and there are different branches, and it's like, you know, we dance around the tree, and it's like you don't really have to stay on one branch just because.
Yeah, right. There's no good reason really to.
Why can't I go to that one? If I
Right.
can't reach it, then I'll go.
The orchestral element in the epic is so. It almost sometimes feels like the sort of the thing that the element that sort of sweetens the pill, because you go into a lot of different rooms, and a lot of it's really beautiful and intense and harsh, but the orchestral elements are never far away, where you really bring out the sort of the romanticism in the chords and the melody. Like, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, well, so I had this group of musicians that I grew up with, and we've been playing since we were little kids, and when we played together, it was always very improvisational, and we were kind of hyper. We liked playing high energy music, so that's where that kind of comes from, you know. But then in school, I was an ethnomusicology major with an emphasis on composition. So I was, you know, doing a lot of writing, and a lot of like writing for different like chamber groups and even the orchestra and stuff like that too. And I had a mentor, Gerald Wilson, who is a really great composer, who he knew kind of both sides of who I was. Most people only kind of knew me as a player more, like a saxophone player that, you know, they knew I wrote music, but they didn't really know I wrote a lot of like large ensemble stuff. So Gerald was really old. He was like 90-something years old, and we had a gig, and I recorded the gig live. And so Brandon Coleman, who plays keyboards with me, he likes to mess around with sounds. So he like put together this really amazing string sound, and he was playing around with it on the gig. And so on that recording, I let Gerald Wilson hear it. He was like, "Oh, so you're finally doing some writing for your band?" Like he thought the strings were real, and he was like, "Oh," I told him like, "No, those are keyboards." He was like, "Oh, well, you should write some stuff for this band for a big band around it or something." He just told me I needed to like incorporate more of my writing into my musical expression. You know, like, you know, it makes the music sound much more thought out than it actually was. We were actually, if you listen to it without the strings, it sounds like we're kind of searching and moving on the edge of our seats. But when I wrote that other stuff, when I wrote the stuff around it, it kind of like tied everything together.
When you capture improvisation on record, and you decide, well, this is the take, or I'm on fire here, this is it, you know? But then you go out and you play these songs, reinterpret this music every night with your band. Do you ever go off stage and feel like, damn, I wish this take was the one that was on the record? Do you feel you're improving your sort of the improvisation, or is it just, you know, new day, new possibilities? That's something, because a great solo is like a great composition in itself, you know.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's more like, it's like every day is a moment in time, you know. So You do have days where you're connected more, and like, I find is that it's my opinion of a performance is really deeply based off like what I was trying to do. So when you're improvising, you get these ideas, you get these intentions, and so I'm trying to make something that sounds like this, and sometimes I nail it exactly, and sometimes I don't, but it doesn't really, it's not like one is better than the other. It's just like one is what I tried to do and one is what I did do. So, I mean, when we play now, I mean, these songs, they go in completely different directions. So my intention for them is kind of really different than it was when we played it then. So, I find myself wondering sometimes, like, oh, what would the record version of this be like now? But it happens. We play it. Yeah, we play it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it would be really, really different. But this is cool too. This is kind of like where I was at and what we were thinking and where I can kind of reminisce. Like, oh yeah, 2011. I remember that. Yeah.
I was trying for this and trying.
Yeah, I was trying for this. I was doing that. You know what I mean? Like, Yeah.
But do you ever stumble upon new? Just new melodies, new compositions in the improvisations on stage that you have to make mental notes to yourself and make write compositions out of.
I should be writing out some of these arrangements, but no, we usually don't.
It's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, sometimes we walk off stage like, ooh, that was a good one, man. We should do that again. And then the liquor comes. And takes those memories away. Right.
And then you forget about it.
No, I mean, what happens is that, then the next day comes and something new happens and you go like, oh. So, I mean, for me, it's a record is like a snapshot of a moment in time. So it's like, you go on vacation, you take a picture, but there were so many other memories that were possible. And it's like, the snapshot is just a snapshot. The album is a photograph, for lack of better terms, of that particular time, and us playing this music in that particular time. And so a live show is like where we are right now, so like, the rain and everything is gonna kind of affect the music, and it'll kind of be, it'll be with this energy that we're in right now, what this song, it's like a chemistry. Like you pour the song with your circumstances, and then you get the performance.
One of many things that I just so admire with great jazz musicians is that every night they have to sort of rewrite the song and come up with great new compositions on the fly, which to someone who mainly just sits around and writes songs and then sings them, you try to reinterpret it slightly every night, but that capacity to come up with often like just brilliant things on the fly and then move on and never return to it again, is that surplus of ideas is something I admire really about what you do.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of it. I mean, it's definitely, because it's about kind of like tapping into the moment, And so it's reverse for us. Like, it's hard for us to, like we did a couple of concerts like with the strings and choir, and we have to kind of play the songs
in a stricter
structure, and like a lot of, like I told you, like on my song in particular, a lot of that stuff happened really spontaneously. So to try to do it on purpose, it's actually hard. There's one part where the song hits this real, like we change time signatures in the middle of the song, and it just kind of goes into 4. We're now doing that spontaneously. It sounds so natural and just like smooth, but trying to do that on purpose is like always like a you're like, oh, we made it. Whew.
So you make it hard for yourself.
I mean, it's just they're two different things. There's like, being in the moment, and then there's doing what you're supposed to do, and like so like we're in the moment, and the song kind of drifts into this way, and it's like, oh yeah, you know, like the strings are going to go into 4 right here, so, and we're way off into a deep 7, you know, and it's like, oh okay, we got to go to 4 now, so somebody has to, you know, turn this ship that way.
Does it feel confining then to do the bigger ensemble live?
No, it's just a different thing. It's like you have to be a little more conscientious, and then it also makes you more creative because, like I said, like you might end up into this. You end up in a space that, you know, when we went to 4 in this, it felt like it was going there. You know, so like we're all playing, and it's like we all can feel it. Like, oh, we should do it. Let's do it. We didn't say anything, but you can just, we're all in the same space, and you can see the 4 coming. So this is like, okay, it's coming, figure out a way to make it go to 4. And that's like, oh, okay, that's a different kind of creativity. Yeah. You know, so it's you know, they're both fun, but they're different. I think music is a very, very powerful tool, and you can use it kind of almost for whatever you want to use it for. But what it does to me is it connects people. And that's what the tool is. It's like a tool that connects people, one person to another. You know, when I was a little kid, I grew up in an area called South Central LA, or Inglewood in particular, and there was like a lot of pressure to like kind of take on this negative self-image. Like I was like a little 5-year-old kid, never done anything to anyone. I didn't have a gun, or I didn't sell drugs, or but in my mind, because of the media that was around me, I wanted to be a gangster because that's what everyone told me I was supposed to be. And so there was a program that came to my school, and they were basically trying to undo that mental image that we had. And one of the first things they did was they gave us the autobiography of Malcolm X. And when I read that book, it was like someone turned the lights on for me, and I could see, like, why am I even thinking like this? And so when I made this record, I was like, you know, I want to use my little tool to connect people, to reconnect people to this wisdom source that is Malcolm X.
Kamasi Washington.